The Houston Texans, they're supposed to run this division, y'all. The Tennessee Titans beat the Houston Texans 32-27 on the road in a crazy game. Let's be honest, this game was bonkers. Pretty much the whole way through, we scored 30. The Titans actually scored over 30 points. That rarely ever happens. We scored more than 17. I mean, that rarely ever happens. A lot to unpack from this win. The Titans stay alive, technically. They're 3-8 now. But this was a big win for the Titans. This was a good win for the Titans because the division win on the road against one of your rivals, however the season ends up, whatever the final record is, it's always good to do that because you've got to establish a culture of winning. I said this after they beat the Patriots. How do you expect to create a winning culture if you never win? You've got to win. And this was a close game where they trailed in the second half and they came back and won. They overcame a ton of adversity, most of which they put on themselves to win this game. And that's a good thing. You talk about draft position, you talk about whatever you want. That's beneficial to a football team too. Overcoming adversity, figuring out how to win, because a lot of these guys are going to be back on the team next year. You got to figure out how to do this. If you're a young player, you got to figure out how to win these close games on the road, in the division, against a tough team. You got to figure out how to do it, and the Titans figured out how to do it today. Will Levis, outside of the pick six, which was terrible, outside of the pick six, Will Levis unquestionably outplayed CJ Stroud today. Outside of the pick six, and I think maybe even with the pick six, as bad as it was, because CJ Stroud was not good. I mean, CJ Stroud threw a couple of interceptions too that were pretty darn bad. Like, pretty bad. And you know, a couple more that he got away with that should have been interceptions. So even with the pick six, I think Will Levis absolutely outplayed CJ Stroud today. Now, was it a fluke? Would it ever happen again? Time will tell. But for today in Houston, Will Levis outplayed CJ Stroud. I thought he started the game about as good as he possibly could. I mean, early on, he was hitting everything. Long touchdown to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, by the way, who in my opinion it's not even debatable. He's one of the best wide receivers the Titans have ever had. Like, honestly, and not a joke. He is one of the best wide receivers the Titans have ever had. But he was doing some good stuff with Ridley, the long ball to Ridley, getting Tyler Boyd involved, everything clicking for Will Levis. And then it felt like toward the end of the first half, things started working against him. You know, the pocket presence is still a major problem. That is the biggest issue with his game right now. Holding on to the ball too long and, you know, not stepping up where he needs to and going right into pressure. That's still a major problem for him, and that's a large part of the reason why the Titans had 7 sacks at halftime. Now, J.C. Latham struggled today. I will say that. J.C. Latham at left tackle, probably some of the toughest competition he's gone up against in his young NFL career, and he struggled today. Gave up a couple of sacks. A tough game. Not terrible, but definitely a tough game for J.C. Latham. We'll see that on film breakdowns this week. NPF at right tackle was struggling because, of course, he was. I mean, that's just kind of what he does. So Will Levis, I think, lost some of the confidence toward the end of the first half. The sacks, you know, holding on to the ball too long. It felt like when the Titans came out for the second half, they were scared. They were calling plays scared. Will Levis was not playing free and confident like he did in the first half. And I thought, oh no. Like, here we go again. This feels like the first 3 weeks where it's just you're waiting on the big disaster to come. You know, we're just trying to not lose. We're playing not to lose. You could just feel that the tides had turned against us. And then the pick six, which I referenced earlier. was awful. And that pick six is on Will Levis. I know people want to try to blame the coach, want to try to blame the play call, want to try to blame the offensive line, because we just don't want to believe that our quarterback made a bad play. No, maybe I'm old school. I mainly blame the dude that threw it. And that was Will Levis's worst moment of the game by far. Looked like he already knew. It was very similar to the pick six he threw against Green Bay back in week 3. Just knew where he was going to go with the ball, was going to throw it there no matter what, and it ended up being a pick six. So that play was a disaster. That was his worst moment of the game by far. Even worse than the sacks, even worse than the pocket presence. That was the worst moment of the game. Okay. But look at what he did after. This is something that we've seen from him before. He moves on from it, and he comes back and he throws the touchdown to Chigakonkwo, and the team overcomes. I mean, I think in the first 3 weeks, if you're looking for a good sign for Brian Callahan, the first 3 weeks, the Titans would have melted down with all of the mistakes they were making in the second half. The pick six, special teams, once again, actively trying to lose this game. The special teams actively trying to lose this game. Jaquan Jackson, bad day for him. Ryan Stonehouse, not a good day for him. Kickoff coverage was awful from literally the word go. There were some other special teams mishaps all over the place today. And in the first 3 weeks, the Titans would have totally melted down and lost the game. They would have totally just checked out. But they kept showing up today. They kept showing up. The defense kept making plays. Beaten and battered. The secondary, we got Daryl Worley in there. Amani Hooker's got an illness out of nowhere. We got a dude named Daryl Worley. The only Daryl Worley I know is a country singer. There's a country singer named Daryl Worley. I thought it was him for a second. I was like, have you forgotten? Some of you may know that song that Daryl Worley had. But anyway, if you're a 2000s country music fan. But I was like, we got some dude named Daryl Worley and Daryl Baker. We got all these dudes named Daryl in here. But our secondary held up, and I'm telling you, Jarvis Brownlee, I think we got us a guy in Jarvis Brownlee. He's still young. He has his moments, but Jarvis Brownlee, I think, is going to be a superstar. I really do. Tavondre Sweat had his first NFL sack today. Jarvis Brownlee had his first interception in the NFL today. Congratulations to those two rookies. I thought Jeffrey Simmons stepped up in a big way today. I thought Harold Landry obviously had to play at the end, and the defense hung in there. In spite of all of the adversity that was in our face, the defense hung in there, and the offense responded somehow. The offense responded somehow with the Chigakonkwo play. Some play calls that I didn't agree with. I know people are going to debate the 3rd and 5 at the end when we're just trying to get a first down so we can run the clock, and we decided to throw it. I didn't hate that play call. I like telling Will Levis, we're going to trust you to make a play right here. I know people will question it because it didn't, it was incomplete and whatever, but I actually didn't mind that play call. But I get some people were upset with it. Either way, it all worked out in the end. It's easier to talk about when you win. The way the Texans lost this game, I just want to know if Hannah McNair has anything she wants to say, because she has some stuff to say before this game. I hope she still does. But the way the Texans lost this game was very similar to the way the Titans lose games. Poor quarterback play. Offensive line melted down at the end in particular. Their special teams was bad. You had a missed chip shot field goal that would have tied the game. And penalties, more than anything for Houston, penalties. Illegal shift negated a touchdown. You had a terrible blindside block on the last punt that set them up inside the 10. I mean, just poor from Houston. But Tennessee, this was a much more satisfying win than the other two they've gotten this season. Miami felt like they won that game by default. New England felt like they beat a bad team. Today, the Titans just kept fighting. It was not perfect, and at times it was downright ugly, but the Titans kept fighting today, and Will Levis kept fighting today. That's the main thing. There's a lot more, I think, right now to be excited about with Will Levis than there is to be discouraged about. The pick six was bad. The pocket presence at times in the game was bad. But you can't deny it's big for a young quarterback to figure out how to win a tough game on the road in the division when you're down and have no momentum at times in the second half and you figure out how to win. That's critical for a young quarterback like Will Levis, especially his first division win ever with the Titans. So Titans win. I'm happy about it. Anytime you beat an AFC South foe, it's a good day, and the Titans beat Houston. Good deal. And 6 games to go. We'll see, but Will Levis is playing better. And I don't know, the Titans as a whole look to be figuring it out. And if you're a fan of Brian Callahan and you want him to be the head coach of the future, why wouldn't you? I mean, why would you want to have to start over somebody else? I want Brian Callahan to be good. I think what we're seeing from the team these last couple of weeks, even last week against Minnesota in defeat, the team's fighting. The team's coming out there and working and fighting their butts off. That's a good sign for Brian Callahan. I thought he was in danger of losing the locker room, but it sure don't look like he's lost the locker room. Looks like the locker room's playing hard for him. So, I don't know. All I know is, it's a bad day to be in Houston. Probably why the Titans got out of there. Moved up to Nashville. Tighten up, everybody.